Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the UKLC. We're getting ready to go into our third game of the day. So it's going to be Demise versus MNM. MNM, what I'd honestly say is a pretty heartbreaking loss for them yesterday versus Envision. It looked... sorry, it was Resolve they played, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was. Sorry, it was Resolve, yeah. It looked like that game was really going down to the wire. And like you said, a single auto attack could have made the difference in that game. But also, speaking of heartbreak, Rifty had a very tough time versus Hachi. Hachi kind of proven himself in the last game, but it wasn't just a one-time thing. He is an incredibly good top laner, at least an incredibly good Aatrox. So Rifty kind of got a bit to redeem himself for here.
Yeah, and I mean, DBL also, speaking of top laners, did have a pretty fantastic performance too, particularly in the team fights yesterday in that Resolve game. So I don't necessarily expect, Hachi levels of performance in lane. However, I don't expect DBL to necessarily just roll over versus Rifty either. So we'll have to see how things actually get down, because MNM, all things considered, they looked pretty impressive playing into this Resolve side, despite a very shaky look yesterday. Today Resolve, they came out and smashed their opponents pretty handily. But looking back to MNM, into this Demise lineup. Yeah, they're playing Demise. Why did I think they weren't playing Demise?
It's okay. It happens to the best of us. In my case, the worst of us. But
yeah. So into this Demise, into this Demise lineup, I'm expecting a relatively bloody game. It seems like MNM really want to play through their import mid jungle here. Tyrex and Kazuro, a lot of priority early on in the draft yesterday for their champion picks, and we saw Fennec and Pillar actually have a really stellar performance yesterday. So I'm wondering whether it will turn out to be sort of a mid jungle battle in the early game here.
Yeah. Well, we're into Champ Select now. We've got the Akali and the Syndra taken off on the side of MNM. Over to Demise, they've denied the Pantheon pick. See if the Seraphine sneaks through again. It's pretty impactful in that last game. Some of those ultimates in the team fights really big.
Yeah, it kind of flew under the radar, honestly. I feel like we didn't praise Poke enough for his performance. He really did hit many multiple man encores. So as we can see, certainly a potent champion.
It's one of those things where you always, when you're playing into Seraphine, you just forget how annoying that ult is if you're lined up, because it just keeps going endlessly. I love it. Anyway, the Ivern will be the final ban here from the side of MNM. So over to Demise on what they want to ban away as their final ban here. So far, there's been less attention on the junglers than in the previous games. A lot of the other games, we've seen a lot of Olafs and things get removed. So see whether or not they actually decide to deal with that. But no, it's going to be the Jhin denial here. This does mean things like the Kai'Sa, thank you.
Okay.
Got her name, so she popped up. The Kai'Sa has been left open, but the Seraphine is open. The Alistair is open. There's a lot of things in this game still. I'm pretty excited for this one.
Yeah, if you're Demise, you're maybe tempted to take away the Olaf here after Kazuro's performance yesterday. Not only that, it will definitely suit up nicely if Demise want to play through this mid lane, just giving them such a strong jungler, especially in this meta. It's so blindable. We'll have to see whether they want it though. The answer is yes. So from this point, AD carry, top laner, loads of options really. It's kind of on what they want. I'm trying to think of what picks away from the AD carry role are still up. Things like Orianna, if they really want to pair it with the Olaf, but it's not like the greatest pairing in the world. You normally want a very skirmish-heavy mid laner. They could honestly pair it with Zoe very early on, and it wouldn't be terrible. But
he played that yesterday as well, if I remember right.
Yes, he did. He did play yesterday. So for now, though, we are going to get Kusi on his Leona. But again, I mean, this kind of just sets up for a Regan Alistar. Realistically, you don't really care too much. You get the immediate nice pairing with Kai'Sa. The Plasma stacks up really well. And of course, it has a very positive matchup into Leona. And we're just going to get the Graves lock-in, which can have a positive time into the Olaf, but it's definitely going to struggle to out-skirmish him very early on, as we see the eventual Alistar lock-in too.
Question is I'm assuming this is giving an AD carry here, because otherwise they are going to get everything else removed. Yeah. The MF is still up, so maybe that could just be the pickup for Xandro here.
Yeah, MF
see what they decide to go for, though.
Yeah, MF would be fine. What else is there? Yeah, I mean, you could also go... I mean, I was going to say you could go down the route of Xayah too, but for now, it seems like Pillar actually just wants his Orianna here, so is going to be able to sort of provide a lot of space control, a lot of zone control, which can definitely be very good into the short ranges of Kai'Sa and Graves. So in that regard, it can be a very nice pickup, but in picking the Orianna, they are going to have to sacrifice most likely a slightly worse AD carry in the bottom side. And if you're MNM here looking towards bans, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're Demise now, they're going to ban out the Yone, which I
heard that. What was that about?
I'm not sure if it's really something you want if you're MNMA here. I think you probably want a mage yourself, something that can kind of survive the dive of this Olaf and Leona potentially. Yone is an interesting champion. We haven't seen a whole bunch of him in the bigger leagues just yet. I think he might have been picked up maybe once or twice, but he's certainly catching bans. But he himself prefers the dive, so in that sense, it works well with the MNA comp. But we'll have to see what this final ban is, because honestly, World is their oyster. It's obviously going to be a solo lane ban. You could remove Set from DBL, as honestly, it was a very, very impressive performance from him yesterday.
Well, there's the Camille.
Okay. So,
one last ban here. What do they want to ban away? I'm assuming it's another AD carry. Like the it has to be the MF, right?
Yeah. If it's not Misfortune, it'll be another AD carry. I actually think the smart pivot would be. Oh, Samira also.
Forgot about her.
I mean, I guess Samira's a fine ban, but now at this point, I wouldn't mind Zandru actually pivoting away from MF like you would normally expect and going for the Xayah, because there's likely going to be MNM rounding out with a little more dive with this Alistar and Kai'Sa. So it could be something to consider, and I'm pretty sure it has a fine time into Kai'Sa anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, there you go. I'm really happy to see that pick up. So now towards MNM, could just see DBL default to the set again like he did yesterday. There's a little less immediate front line to dunk back into the Demise roster. And of course, you can't actually throw the Olaf back if he's got his Ultimate up, so it can be sort of like awkward in that sense. Curious to see what Tyrex will actually take into this Orianna though, because we saw him yesterday on the Syndra. They themselves banned it out, and all right, gonna see the Seraphine. Yeah, all right.
Seraphine the top, but it's been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah, season 3 since Alistar top was a thing. Man, I'm been playing League for way too long. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I remember the Trinity Force static Shiv Alistar top.
Oh god,
those are the days.
Don't remind me. But let's see what DBL wants to take for himself. Going to be a blind pick. Could just go for front liner.
Ooh, okay. Now the Volibear. A little while since I've seen that one as well. Yeah. Now it's over to the side of Demise to answer. The Renekton is open if they want to pick that. Obviously, you can turn the shield off on the Volibear W. Where else can they go top lane?
I think Rifty might opt in for something a little more scaly, unless he's not feeling confident after yesterday's performance and he locks in something like Corner and he just sits there. But that Rifty would never lock in.
No, he's scaling. He's scaling, baby.
So he's scaling.
Yeah, don't worry. Rifty.
You know what? I can't even believe the words "Rifty might lock in" on just left my mouth. So I'm just gonna need a second.
The thing for me was like you were talking about how the game yesterday might have got to him. Rifty doesn't let games get to him. He puts it in the past.
It puts it in the past. And we're gonna see Vladimir come out. And what this does mean, whilst it does of course give Demise some insanely strong scaling, what I am expecting to see out of this game is it's an Olaf with most likely no prio lanes. So the early game here could go pretty rough. And I mean, MNM don't exactly, they don't not scale. They've got Seraphine, they've got Kai'Sa, they've got Graves. And for the most part, these champions want to operate in Graves' range. So he's not going to fall off like too hard. DBL might have a slightly rougher time as things progress. But if you're able to use that early priority that Volibear can buy you, then you can obviously yield some pretty big results. So I think both of these drafts very clearly have some strong win conditions, and it's about how both these teams really sort of play the sort of mini skirmishes early on into some of these bigger team fights, because Demise with these hyperscaling champions, they're gonna have to wait a while until they can actually be really useful.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to go into this game, so I'm pretty excited to see how this is going to go down. Obviously, Demise, pretty catastrophic loss to Bulldog yesterday, and MNM, it was close. I don't think it was a catastrophic loss. I think it was the expected outcome from that game, but it went very close. And I feel MNM want to come in with a pretty convincing win here to prove that they are still the team that we predicted them to be.
Yeah. I honestly, if I'm MNM, after that game, I'm not too upset with that loss. You know,
Yeah.
pushing a roster like Resolves, which is as hyped up and has the expectations that it has with it, to the wire like that, to the ropes. You can leave that game losing happy. Yes, you can say, man, it feels bad. One auto attack could have really made the difference in that final fight, but it's in the past now. You know the level that you can play at. It's about sort of effectively just replicating that and trying to run through some of these other rosters, which on paper just should be weaker than that Resolve lineup, and sort of looking towards that round 2 Robin and hopefully evening up the score, making it 1-1 come that rematch.
Well, we are getting closer to getting into this next game. Unfortunately, we do have a quick pause as we have to sort out some settings, and then we'll be getting going into Demise versus MNM Academy. Gives us a little bit more time to chill, break down this game. What are we seeing for the Graves? Because I've spoken to a few people who play Graves, and there's been a couple of different builds. There was the Eclipse build, there was the Gale Force build. What are we looking at for Graves at the moment?
You know, you're very fortunate. You keep on asking me about jungle champion questions, and I'm actually
it's almost as if I'm setting you up to
I know. But no, with the Graves. So yeah, we've seen a lot of iterations over the preseason. Eclipse, like you say, Phase Rush. You've also seen Keystone iterations where you go fleet into these really hefty lifesteal builds, which can be really oppressive too. In this game, I think Phase Rush into Olaf just it kind of nullifies him being able to get on top of you super easily. So I would expect probably the Gale Force build in most worlds, you know, dealing with Shockwave, dealing with the Leona Solar Flare, Feathers being dodged out by Gale Force in the ear is also very nice. So Graves, instead of having 2 dashes, I'd expect he has 3 this game. Here we are. Speaking of free, game 3.
Well, we're on to the Rift. MNM versus Demise. Just a line of scrimmage set up between these teams. No one's really going for anything cheeky. To be fair, if you're Demise, you probably don't really want to invade the Alistair at level 1. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's not the best thing in the world. The best feeling when you say, hey guys, let's go and invade, and you face check a bush as 5 and you just get knocked up by a pulverize. A 5 man. It's yeah, you normally lose those level 1s. So Demise, I think. I mean, honestly, they could lay invade on the bottom side if they wanted to, but if MNMA were waiting in that tri-bush, things could definitely get a little bit unfortunate. But for now, it seems like we're just going to have both junglers start out on red. Kazuro, I believe, well, he had multiple options. Pathing to Volley Bear is definitely fine. Should have priority in that lane, so it should get him that top lane Skull Crab, whereas Fennec on this top side, wanting to path towards his bottom side. We'll see whether or not Zandra and Kuzi can actually buy that priority in the lane. That's things. Kicking off both supports, chilling in the bush. Nothing crazy gonna happen though. And I have to see how Harry performs in this early laning phase. Because opening to the Resolve game, he certainly didn't have a nice time.
Yeah.
0-3 by the time he started having some impact. Not really to his own fault. It was definitely not the easiest game in the world to be playing Jhin, but certainly started to make it look easy come the back end of that game. As both side lanes for Demise.
I actually want to talk a little bit about this mid lane, to be honest. I know you're talking about the side lanes, but I want to talk about the mid lanes.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's been I mean, I tried the Seraphine mid when she first came out. I kind of played it once and gave up. How does this work? How does it function? Because I've not really seen too much Seraphine mid.
So she is relatively vulnerable to like heavy gankers. So in the case of like Olaf, you know, people have mixed perceptions on how you should really play Olaf. I'm more of the mindset of, you know, permanent clears into neutral objectives and you force the enemy to come skirmish into you as opposed to you trying to find fights. So in this case, if Fennec wants to play that style and he doesn't touch Tyrex in this mid lane, he's probably going to have a nice enough time. We see Pillar trying to trade in some auto attacks, passive, but you can see Seraphine's trading power is it's pretty good. Also, in general, Orianna's early trading isn't great, and you can see the wave clear that this champion also does have. You just chuck the Q abilities into the lane in the middle of the waves, and you can often not just get pretty free priority.
I mean, once you got the passive stacked up and you get the double cast off, you actually do
Yeah,
pretty tasty wave clear.
It's pretty damn good.
Kizzo actually now looking for an invade here. Teleport's coming in from T-Rex, who went for a cheeky base, and the invade's not going to work out, but Rifty...
Oh, that's big.
Cancels out on the stun, gets caught out by the blind instantly as they're trying to get the damage off, but Rifty underneath the tower will be able to get away scot-free. Yeah,
I think because the Volibear Q has this very nice quality of life, sort of, I don't know, what word am I looking for? It has a very nice quality of life attachment to it, where if the Q gets cancelled, but I think it's by CC, it gives you the cooldown back, but oh, wow. You can see, because it's cancelled by the pool, he probably loses that cooldown. So I was thinking that he might have the Q back up, and if he did, Rifty would have probably had to have flashed, but you can see Volibear, being the lane bully that he is, he can still make some pretty good trades happen into this Vlad, but of course, scaling is key as Pillar's really getting up in the face of Tyrex. He's trying to stop him
from farming as much as possible. T-Rex does get chunked out pretty heavily, and Phoenix makes his way over just to make sure that this wave does crash into DBL, but you have to be careful of the Sky Splitter shield. And it does a fair amount of damage early.
Yeah, it's got really high base damage. It's like 100 base at level 1 or something silly like that, which...
We see, you know, DBL did go for the Doran's shield as well. Sometimes you see some Volibears go Doran's ring just because the mana problems the champion has, but it also does mean early levels, that Sky Splitter shield really hurts because there's a little bit of AP in there.
Yeah, it does. And also, Volley's passive, I think, scales off AP, so it gives you that little bit of extra... sort of oomph in your autos if you've got them stacked up. So,
do you remember when Volley's passive was his ultimate?
Well, I mean, it was the health regen, right? It wasn't like quite the HP you get.
Yeah,
but yeah, old Volibear was
awful. The flip, the raw.
Except for that one time in 2019 where he came out as a support pit.
Yes, I remember that. It was a specific counter something, wasn't it?
I think it was Rakan.
Yes,
because you can interrupt the dash. Oh, hello, Kazura.
Looking for it. Actually, Regan's coming in. He's blinded, forces the flash out already, and that's Cluzy having a run towards Fennec. Feather's been called out, and in the mid lane, T-Rex is going low. Does have the Encore available. Pillar playing with some serious fire there. Dive could have been really detrimental. If you get caught underneath that tower, is able to get away though. That's going to force T-Rex to go back to base. A lot of bullying going on in this mid lane right now.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to catch it because we was looking at the bottom lane, but Pillar actually made that happen by catching T-Rex in a shockwave. So back end of that bottom lane play is actually just going to be MNM having to give up this dragon to Demise. And if there is any positive for the MNM side, is that they did get Zandru's flash, but it's about making that return gank happen, particularly before Zandru hits level 6. Because once he gets level 6, he gets the Feather Storm, and be very, very easy to just dodge away from these dives as DBL. Another nice trade, but forever annoying to whittle down the likes of Vladimir.
Yeah, Vladimir is he's a champion. That's the best way to describe him.
He's a champion.
You trade on him and he just heals back up. The Empower Transfusion can be quite frustrating.
Yeah. Especially a champ like Volibear, where you get that little bit of extra movement speed with the empowered Q on Vlad's side. But I mean, when you press Q, you move faster too. So I guess it swings it around about the movement speed stuff.
Because they're seeing if he could make something happen in the top side. Unfortunately, spotted out on the pink wood, and we're 7 minutes in, Jamada. No first blood so far. Been very close a lot of the time, but nobody quite going down yet. T-Rex still here in this mid lane as Pillar could be susceptible to getting jumped onto. Multiple members hanging about. A lot of Demise on this top side, and DBL has got the ultimate. That's the Encore. That's the lockdown, and that is one dead Orianna. First blood to the Seraphine.
Yeah, it doesn't even get to flash, and Demise actually rotated their bot lane up to this top side to try and make a Herald play, whereas MNM actually only elect to delegate Regan up here. So with Pillar dropping and him having no TP, it's actually a 4v4, or now a 3v4 on the top side, with Rifty resetting and walking to the bottom side, whilst Harry basically just a lot of free time to push in this wave, might even pick up a plate on the back end here. A lot of solo XP funneled into him. All the while, Zandru wasn't really picking up much, so definitely a pretty big net positive for MNM. The whole play in general actually set them about 1,000 gold in the lead. It seemed very, minute, but you can see sometimes waves do hold a lot of gold value, but it's going to be Demise finally making their way onto this Herald with the swap. You have kind of a half contest here from MNM. You just give this up. You're not going to win without numbers here.
Semi-greedy, actually. Still trying to contest this.
Yeah, you see this a lot from particularly teams actually at ERO, even at ERO level, where they feel the necessity to try and contest every objective just because it's a neutral, but they don't have the setup for it. And in this case, MNM kind of had the setup after they found the pick on Pillar, but obviously didn't feel comfortable enough to start up the Herald after the fact. So, you know, just give it up. It's fine. You're getting a lot on this bottom side with Harry picking up so much solo XP. Who, by the way, he's been laning down there for a little while now, and he's not been missing much XP, so, or any XP. You can see he's halfway to level 8 already. While Sandra is probably, I mean, close to level 7, but certainly not going to be there just yet as Pillar, blue handoff. Very nice for himself.
Harry could be that player. He's getting a lot of resources put into him just passively by his team moving away from him and just letting him quietly farm up. Obviously, the XP level lead, along with the gold lead, he's going to be able to accrue for himself. Should be pretty big. And Noonquiver gets picked up. He's basing on a 1,100 gold lead as well, so it's going to be a bit more towards that Gale Force. Or maybe the Kraken Slayer. We saw Yusa pull that out in game number 1 of the day. Double daggers.
Yeah, I'm hoping for Gale Force in this game. We'll have to see what he thinks is better. As somebody that knows Harry quite well, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes Kraken Slayer because he just loves big damage numbers. He's a really traditional AD carry in the sense of, you know, big numbers make him happy.
He likes right click.
He likes right click. Yeah, that's the end. That's the end product. But one thing I want to highlight is in the midst of all of this, honestly, the Demise have been dropping a lot of side lane waves.
Yeah,
they've not been punished like too hard in sense of actual XP, but you can look at the scoreboard and you can kind of see, you know, between the side lanes, the discrepancy in CS because of all of this lane swapping and not quite resetting on waves properly. It's meant Rifty's down about 25. Harry is also about 15. Oh, hey!
Blind off. Harry just jumped onto the backline, instantly caught out to the solar flare and the shockwave. Harry tanking tower shots. Encore does connect though, and that would be a juicy kill onto the Kai'Sa. That went very back and forth for a moment.
Yeah, it almost looked like it was going to be a bit of a terrifying moment for the MNM boys, but I'm going to have to hold this. DBL knows he's getting dosed. This is really good. He's trying to just make Rifty panic. Dives back towards, Fennec. One more tower shot. He would have definitely dropped there. Very well played from DBL.
Holding his own in the 1v2 there.
Yeah, holding his own really, really well. Not sure if he's going to be able to hold off much longer. Regan's taken a really early reset to try and make it up here because he knew that the Dragon was all but secured. Pretty much secured. And MNM, off the back of a very nice snap engage in the mid lane, pick themselves up the Dragon. They even stop.
Oh, Regan? No.
No, he's very eager, this boy, to make plays. As you saw in the mid lane, as probably going to end up sitting in a bit of a farm fest for a little bit. Herald's still around 3 minutes away from spawning. Fennec just says, I've had enough of trying to find good opportunities to put this down. Yeah, I couldn't find it top. I'm just going to put it mid. Drops it close enough so that it's still going to just about get the charge off. All the gold,
Fennec's the only one who got the gold there, crucially.
Yeah.
Pillar is going to get some plate gold here bot side, though, for himself. And we're talking about how it was Demise who were dropping side lanes. Now it's MNM who dropped a couple of side lane waves there. They have swapped DBL out towards this bottom side, and Terek on the Seraphine in the top side is shoving a wave in there, though.
Yeah, so, you know, missing plates, yes. I think they've been pretty good so far at catching the waves, so it's not been terrible for them. Still holding the gold lead. 500 though, as the Mice cashed in all of those plates. Thank you, Observer. I was about to ask. Looking down the lineup here, relatively dead even. Only a couple hundred gold in it here and there. 500, the lead for Harry, probably the biggest lead between laners here. Harry, definitely somebody that when he does get resources, he can really pop off. We saw once he sort of, you know, got a foot in the game yesterday, finally found some stability. His Jhin was looking very, very threatening. And Kai'Sa, definitely no slouch in the scaling department. So let's see how much freedom he's allowed in this game. As MNM setting up around this top side for this Herald spawn in not too long. About 30 seconds or so. DBL.
It's going to land. DBL does have the ultimate coming up momentarily. Needs to get over the wall, but Pillar takes him down before he can do so. And pretty easy pick up there, actually. Pillar able to punish onto DBL, who's overstaying his welcome a little bit. When you don't have ult or flash, you need to be careful.
Yeah, just a free pickup. I mean, DBL doesn't really have any obligation to be on that side. He should know he's on the weak side of the map, or his weak side of the map, as the rest of his team are committing to this top side, looking to set up around the Herald. Now, fortunately, he does have TP, so he will be back on the map if he has to be. And this shouldn't necessarily halt MNM's plans too much, but Pillar's getting a lot of free time on this bottom side. Is stacking up the CS. They'll probably take down this tower.
Blood, to be honest.
Yeah. We'll see whether Demise actually fall victim to this half contest like MNM do, but given the position of Zandra and Kuzi, it looks like the answer's going to be no. Now I'm going to punish a little bit for MNM picking up this Herald. We'll see where this Herald wants to be placed. As wave clear, you can see very much Seraphine's thing. Says, here you go, Vladimir. Take the CS, I don't care.
Yeah, building towards that Luden's Echo as well, getting closer and closer towards it. Fennec actually stole the red buff from Harry there, so that's pretty sad for him.
Yeah, pretty annoying. Probably just looking to secure the red buff in terms of just not actually giving it over to Fennec as opposed to taking it for himself, per se. As gold are off, you can see Demise actually swing out ahead here in the last few moments, 1,000 gold up. With that bottom tower play and DBL being caught out of position, Demise capitalizing on that one. They find themselves temporarily in the lead. And with mid lane priority and map priority actually just on this next dragon spawn. Let's see what they do with the next wave, but certainly looking like they're going to have first move for this dragon and can make things potentially awkward for MNMA here because they don't have the greatest face check tools. It's only really Regan that can face check. We'll have to see how both these teams jostle here for lane prio, and you can see both teams essentially only committing 3. Rifty still top, Pillar kind of in the bottom lane here, looking onto Tyrex potentially.
I'm going to find him there. Does a lot of damage with command attack and dissonance.
Yeah, it's Orianna, everybody, at 1 iron. And
Seraphine is fairly squishy, to be fair.
Yeah, she is pretty squishy. I wonder if this is going to be enough to stop MNM from actually contesting the dragon. Kazuro seems like he wants that mid lane power.
No, all right, contesting. We got double teleports. We're in for the fight. DBL jumping forward. They get the knock up. They get everything. But there's a big shockwave onto the backline. There's the encore to charm everybody up. Xandra dodged it away with the Feather Storm. But here comes Rifty looking for redemption for yesterday. Proto belts into TRX and he will lose his life, getting himself the kill. Xandra goes low and they're firing away. They find himself a double kill. And this has just gone horrifically wrong for DBL and for the rest of MNM. Is able to get a kill on the tail end, but Pillar will look to take him down. And one more Tides of Blood from Rifty secures the ace. Demise wipe MNM off the map.
Yeah, and Demise play that fight pretty damn well. And honestly, on the front side of the fight for MNM, it wasn't going too terribly. But one thing they didn't take into consideration was the fact that Rifty had found himself a flank angle on this teleport. And you can see it's pretty much just free access to the backline, to Tyrex and to Harry, the 2 members that you want to keep alive. And honestly, Harry a little bit too far forward to be able to get clipped by that shockwave. And you can see MNM at first, they're tearing through the front line, but then Rifty comes through and splits up the entire fight, flips it on his head, able to separate Tyrex from the team. And on the bottom side, you see Kazuro, Kai'Sa, too short range really to chase into the Xayah, has the feathers down and calls them back to pretty much take them both down. DBL eventually gets revenge, but drops nonetheless. And it's Demise winning that fight, taking that dragon. And a very nice flank ward from Rifty, which also... The ward was actually spotted out by Regan on a sweeper not too long before that, but he opted not to actually clear it out because the priority at the time was looking at mid lane prio, and you can see it's actually the TB ward that ends up costing them.
It was a great Featherstorm from Xandri, though. He dodged the Encore, and I think if that hit at that point, Harry probably just would have murdered him.
Yeah, definitely.
So, fantastic ulti by Xandri to make sure that he stays alive.
Yeah. And the Shockwave, too, catching
the Shockwave
Harry
was
in it as
there
well.
was a lot of good ultis.
There was a lot of good
ultis,
ultis,
to be fair.
Yeah, yeah.
But as we head back on to the Rift into this game, gold lead is 2,100 right now to the side of Demise. All the mythics have been finished up for pretty much everyone but the supports. Phil's support man.
Yeah. Low income. What can you say?
They're getting close.
They're on their way. They're getting there. Support's actually dead even on gold. Just as a side note, it seems we're talking about it, but across the board, no one, just more or less sort of 400 to 500 gold leads for the side of Demise. We'll see if Pillar gets caught out here.
Blind. They're trying to get the damage onto Pillar. The Encore almost hits him as he gets the stopwatch off, and that is the shutdown onto Graves. May just lose a turret for that, though, as Harry has been left isolated, and Cousin Xandri could easily execute him here.
I imagine Harry will just pay the respect over, pay the tax for this play in the mid lane. We'll see if MNM feel the need to immediately retaliate with this top lane tower, but it's going to be hard to take a tower down with that much HP, and they need to respect the fact that Demise can certainly rotate over. However, the rest of MNM are making their way too, so would be a numbers disadvantage for Demise, so wisely opt to just kind of call off the play, and actually MNM also take their foot off the pedal and just say, it's all right, we get our pick. It's more or less 300 gold for 300 gold, so equal trade, just Demise are going to have a little more space to work around with the tower being down. As DBO actually opting for Divine Sunderer. I don't think I've seen... Well, I've certainly not seen a whole bunch of Volibear top, but when I have seen it, it's normally been the closer to true tank variations.
Yeah.
Off late, so interesting to see the more damage-based.
That's definitely that he recognizes that he might be in a side lane with Rifty a lot and needs some kind of skirmishing capability.
Yeah, and it also it gives you that little, it gives you like a mini grasp proc too. It doesn't give you the health stacking, but it gives you the health back.
Yeah, you get a little heal from it.
So definitely nice, but you can
Rifty's
see
also pretty strong.
Yeah, Rifty is kind of at the point where he doesn't care.
I mean, DBL has minimal magic resist as well at the moment, so other than his boots, will struggle a little bit. Has got the Bramble Vest to deal with applying some grievous wounds to Rifty. Trying to take some of the healing off him. But Rifty may just get this tower here.
Yeah, should be. You've got Demise rotating over just to confirm the tower take. And MNM really, they're just kind of on the other side of the map. They're not really responding much to this play. Could honestly have decided to just say, all right, we're going to go to the bottom side and pick up Pillar. And I mean, the call seems like it's happening now, but it's a little bit too late. Pillar's more than gone. So Demise picked themselves up a tower for pretty much free, and the last couple of minutes has seen Demise's map rotations be pretty strong. That's turned into quite a few towers for themselves and pulling out ahead a little bit in the gold. But of course, a lot of standing gold between top and bot tier 1s for MNM to catch back up in. It's not too bad, but I am potentially worried for this MNM side if Rifty's allowed to get another flank angle. It's so good for Demise if they're allowed to have Rifty have backline access, like how they did in the last fight. But it seems like Demise want no part in a potential dragon fight. They are just on the Baron. They're going to start up to pull MNMA over. This Baron isn't necessarily slow, but MNM are certainly going to make it in time.
Yeah, he's only lost a third of his health so far, and it's going to be pretty risky.
Oh,
Shockwave could be impactful, though. Because he's setting up, trying to see if he can find that solar flare. Catches onto a couple of members. There's Rifty. There's the Shockwave. Pillar does get himself something onto T-Rex, but it's a trade back so far. This fight has gone so wrong for MNM. Although it's just a 2 for 2, so we might actually have to cool down a little bit. Harry's still alive, just shooting out those Acafian Rains. Okay.
Yeah, that could have gone far worse. I have to emphasize this. Rifty again, we were just talking about. If he finds a flank angle, MNM are in trouble. And we saw he managed to find that TP wall just behind the Wolf camp there. You can see as they're looking to return back to this Baron. So the thought process here is that Pillar probably has teleport. So can make it a 4v3 if MNM commit. And commit they will.
Yeah, big headbutt pulp. They do get a shield off. Rifty's doing a lot of damage to the jungle, though. Looking for the execution. Xandra just gale forces in. Secures the kill. Teleport's being used, and they're bringing in another member. Man advantage heavily in favor of Demise now.
Yeah.
Encore is back up, so if they can stall this for MNM, there is a chance, but maybe they can find a little something. Voidseeker will spot him out. T-Rex is making his way up, looking for that Encore. Throws it down, catches them all out. That's the combo. That's the takedown. Solar Flare does land, as they do get themselves shut down with the early carry. Rifty is just sprinting to the win, and Harry finds himself a double kill, firing away. Demise just biting off way more than they can chew. Looking for the Voidseeker. One last stun will give it over to Harry as he jumps in. Not enough from the ulti. Rifty, stop watching, trying to sustain as much as possible. He's a real nuisance, but DBL will take him down and get a shutdown. MNM, it's their turn to do the Baron.
Yeah. I love how at the end, Rifty buys so much time and Harry's so worried about Vladimir damage. He's like, you know what? You can take the shutdown. You can have it, DBL. I'm all right. But yeah, I mean, you call it, Jake. I wasn't expecting the Seraphine art to actually matter as much as it did, but the CC chain is enough for MNM to just tear through the health bars of Demise. And we get the Baron.
Seraphine art into double high note. Just look how much damage. We're not at that point, but it actually wrecks them.
So the initial re-engage here by MNM because they're worried about Demise actually committing and finishing this Baron. And it means Kazuro drops. So they're like, okay, what do we actually do here? We're going to have to wait for members to come back. Kuzi's on his way out from base, and we called, hey, Pillar's got TP, so they don't mind starting up, and it's why they did. So it looked very positive for Demise here, but then the rest of MNMA, they're on their way back out from the map. DBO and Tyrex, and then look at this Encore. 3-man into the Pulverize, into all of the rest of the damage and CC, and the Demise health bars just can't stay up. There's no summoner spells from the 2 carries of Demise, and, you know, Rifty can kind of sit there through that damage and CC, but Pillar and Xandru can't. And the result is MNM end up with this Baron off the back of, honestly, what looked like it was going to be a Demise Baron. MNM managed to swing it on their head.
And crucially, MNM have actually been struggling to take towers. They've only got 1 so far. Now with the Baron, they're already going to crack this tier 1 in the bot side. They're slowly going to be able to take some towers and kind of blow this gold lead open a little bit more for them, because they're up in kills, but the gold's been fairly even, purely off the fact that these teams haven't really, well, MNM haven't really been able to take too many towers. Hexflash is coming over the wall, and Regan just threatening the dive. This would be tier 2 going down.
Yeah, so committing there would be audacious. So very nice space buying with the Hexflash. It just forces Xandru and Kuzi all the way back so that they can take the tower, and a very nice rotation. Gonna come in. Oh, Shockwave.
Shockwave's there, and Harry, he is not happy about that one. Jumping onto the backline, but he cleanses and escapes with his life. Harry is on a killing spree. 2 for none in favor of MNM. Another tower to take as well. Dragon spawning in 40 seconds. They can just reset, spend that gold.
Yeah. I mean, very nice attempt from Pillar, but Harry just says, what did you just do? Dashes over the wall, takes down Pillar. Kuzi tries to commit onto the very low HP Kai'Sa, and it's not quite enough to take him down.
I feel like if you're Pillar there, you're just happy with the Shockwave in the chunk because you force him away and you buy space for Dragon control, because that Shockwave will be up just in time for Dragon anyway.
So I think he was happy, but I want to say the Prey Seeker landed over the wall in response from Harry.
They went very ham for him in response, to be fair. They were not happy about that.
That was full, like, emotional retaliation. That's like, you know, your little brother gets picked on, so you go, like, see what's going on at school. Like, what did you do to him? Yeah. Teach Killer a lesson.
The surround, I think it was a double surround sound from T-Rex as well. So Harry basically got his entire health bar in shields.
Yeah. Yeah, the Killer Instinct shield plus the Seraphine shield. It's
kind of scary.
Yeah,
Harry's got his third item as well. So it's 2 items on both of these AD carries. Although there is Grievous on Harry as well. So it just has, you know, a little bit of something to help him. Well, the fact they've been able to crack open these turrets, you're now looking at 51,000 gold to 48,000 gold. So 3,000 gold lead, sorry, over to MNM Academy. And still looking to take another tier 1. They've been pretty slow on the turrets, but that Baron did crack them a bunch of turrets as well. They got 3 turrets off the back of that.
Yeah, Baron definitely helped out here. And means the map's going to be very open for them moving forward in this game. And it certainly opened up the gold lead a fair amount, as you rightfully highlight. And MNM now posturing for this mid-tier too. I mean, looks like the wave might just be able to get cleared out. However, the tower damage is pretty huge. Shockwave even committed.
Shockwave down. That actually might be the go button. Regan pops ultimate, goes in for the headbutt above. Harry slides in straight away as they do jump in. A great charm comes down, and that is just going to be 2 kills picked up for the Graves. A third one taken down by the Moo Cow. And MNM find himself 3 easy kills.
Yeah, I've really got to say, Regan buying so much like pressure just by being at these sort of side angles and constantly hex flashing or just flashing outright in this case to find multiple carries and knock them up. And honestly, the death timers are long enough for MNM to maybe close out this game. They have one wave and there's not a lot of wave cleared.
They've already lost 1 turret. They're tanking the towers for them. Regan's keeping Rifty away. Fenix trying to get the damage off. Go for the ultimate for the moment. Nexus is being fired away at. Stopwatches again used. And Harry, he's just ignoring them at the moment. He just wants to end this game. The Nexus is so low. Harry does it! And MNM take the win. 1-1 on week number 1.
Yeah, 1-1. And I think we've spoken a lot about the importance of not going into week 2 0-2 in terms of confidence for teams, because it does feel bad. I'm not sure if I've ever done it, but it's definitely very bad, especially like in this league. It can be, a lot of pressure can be put on you when you go 0-2 down. So very nice for them to pick up. Of course, actually, Demise lose their second game, so that will be the case for them going into week 2 winless. And honestly, props to MNM. They played out that sort of back end of the game pretty cleanly. They recognized, hey, Harry right now, he is our carry. We just have to stay on top of him. Let Regan find these engages. Let DBL follow up. And as long as Harry stays alive, as long as T-Rex can get off these multi-man encores to follow up with the initial engages, we can just sort of deathball and stay alive. And that's exactly what happened. Once Rifty wasn't finding those flank angles anymore, the fights were just incredibly MNM favored. Yeah,
it was really, really well executed from MNM. I think there were definitely moments, and like you said, Rift on the flank angles is the one that obviously jumps out is that dragon fight where he just completely annihilated the back lane. But one of the things about playing into Kai'Sa is flanking the backside doesn't always work, because the Kai'Sa just jumps forward and like suddenly the tanks are on the back and the Kai'Sa's at the front.
That can be the issue with Kai'Sa, like especially actually into a comp like Demises, where you've got your 1/2 assassination targets who are Xayah and Orianna, who both have really good anti-dive tools. So you don't really want to jump into a Shockwave or a Featherstorm. And that's what Harry actually did do 1 or 2 times early on in the game. And it's why those fights went so wrong, in conjunction with also Rifty finding those really strong multi-man ultimates. So props to MNM for pulling things together on the back end. Unfortunate for Demise, honestly, to go 0-2 this week, because, you know, they've definitely had very strong performing members. Pillar obviously sticking out in my mind as the primary one in week 1, but end result is still a 0-2 week moving into week 2. Yeah, looking for that first win next week.
And it's a really, really nice win for MNM, purely because they had a pretty close game yesterday, and for them to get the win here and not go 0-2 at the beginning is really crucial for them. So a fantastic win for MNM, and that does mean that they put themselves in a better position going into week 2, not going completely stomped over. Now, guys, we're going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll break the game down a little bit more and have an interview. So we'll see you in a second.
birds sing higher winds of breeze. Hey yeah, hey yeah. Over the seas, the blue and the green. You got the power. You show the way. You got the power. That's so great. Over the seas, the blue and the green. The air that I breathe, you give to
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UKLC. Coming fresh off a win for MNM Academy, getting their first win of the tournament. I mean, we're only 2 days in, but, you know, a win's a win. Jamada, I think you're ready to talk us through one of the plays there. So what play did you pick?
Yeah, I picked this fight here. Quite simply because this is kind of one of these fights where I can freely kind of talk about the importance of, you guessed it, river control, flanks, choke controlling, yada, yada, yada. So before this clip actually started, you can see right here, oh, I'm not on free draw, but you can see this ward here. So Regan actually picked up on this ward on a sweeper not too long ago, but both these teams were jostling for mid lane priority up here so that they can get a very nice and clean entrance into the river through here. So Regan felt like he had to sit behind the team as they were pushing the wave to just kind of cover that potential angle. So this ward down here never really gets cleaned up. So you can see it's actually Demise who have first move on this dragon, and they start it up. And you can see Kazuro immediately is trying to put some pressure down by dropping the Herald in the mid lane. Very standard play. And you can see TP from DBL just on top of everybody, it's fine. That's how MNM realistically want to play out these fights, right? Front to back, unless a very nice dive opportunity arises. But because this ward doesn't actually get picked up or swept away, it's just a free flank ward for Rifty to effectively have free reign eventually once MNM commit down the river to the backline. It's just free access. So get the clip playing again. And you'll just see DBL runs in with the front line of Regan. The shockwave does clip Harry, but he doesn't really die from it. You can see MNM are just wrecking this fight on the front line, but you can see as soon as Rifty comes in, fight is completely different. He splits up Tyrex from the rest of the team. And at this point, it's actually Pillar and Rifty chasing a little hard for Tyrex here. And Zandru's in a pretty unfortunate situation almost. But what saves him is the fact that Kai'Sa and Graves are such short-range champions. And you can see they're chasing into this choke where all of the feathers are coming out. So eventually he does just about manage to get a Blade Caller in, drops Harry, roots up the rest of the members, and he's able to get away with his life almost until DBL manages to get on top of him, and Pillar eventually picks up the revenge kill. But you can see these fights very, very close, kind of down to the wire. And this is why I've been going on about the importance of things like covering flanks, stopping enemies from walking into chokes, because it can make all the difference. Priority is very important. And yeah, I thought this clip really highlighted that
Couple of
with
things
Rifty
on that
breaking
one.
up the fight. Yeah.
A couple of things I liked. First of all, the fact it was a Cloud Soul meant that Rifty actually got into that fight a lot quicker, because the fight went down. MNM were winning it, but because Rifty was able to get close enough to flash then R on top of them, it actually did change the effect to the fight, and it kind of forced MNM to scatter. So I don't know how different it would have been about Cloud Soul. You know, that's kind of like a hindsight.
Yeah, the
thing,
Rift.
but it did help.
Yeah, it's like getting Moby boots. So it's honestly,
Exactly.
it's pretty impactful.
And second of all, I liked that you pick a fight where MNM lose. And I know why, because we got Harry standing by in the wings ready for an interview. Harry, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing fine. I can't believe you chose that clip just before I came on.
I was like, we're not getting an MNM win here. We're just watching you lose a fight. Talk to me, though, about you've had 2 games so far of this split. How are you feeling about those 2 games? Obviously, a win's great, but I want to talk a little bit about yesterday. What was your kind of thought process coming out of yesterday into today?
It was a tragedy yesterday. I think we definitely should have won the game. And the main reason we didn't is because we just didn't end out early enough. And we were on a timer yesterday. We're on a timer today. So I think we ended up with all that Alistair flanks and stuff that are going on top lane. I think that's a good improvement from yesterday. I think pushing for leads before the timer clicks over and Vlad just starts one-shotting everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's the best we could have improved from yesterday.
Yeah, and I want to also ask, how what was the mood like in the camp after the loss yesterday? Because, I've been there with you. When we took it kind of bad sometimes, right? Last play, when you'd have those really, those close-knit wins where, in this case yesterday, you could literally say, you get that all off on Yusa, the fight could realistically go in your favor, and you just end the game.
You're so dirty like that, Jamada.
Because Harry's one of my good friends, so he knows I'm going to put him on the spotlight.
Yeah.
So, look, how was the mood after that game? Because honestly, those kind of defeats can be crushing.
It was crushing because it was so close and we should have won. I think if it was more decisive on the enemy, I think we would have taken it a bit better. But I think we're very happy with yesterday's performance. I think with 1 week of coaching, especially in Regan's debut split, I think these lads have got a long way to go for the next 4 weeks. Easily top 2 contender, easily. It's going to be easy.
That's fair enough. I asked this question yesterday, and I can't remember who to, but I think it's what I want to shoot to you, because I've followed your career for a long time, pretty much since you started, actually.
Casting Belong finals.
Yeah, man. Back in the day. What are your personal goals going into this split, and what are you kind of hoping to achieve by the end of the year?
It's kind of hard to say. I'm not too sure. I definitely want to win this split. I think that that last split, I think we should have won. This split is definitely going to be the redemption. Past that, I just want to be. I want to be at the point where we're scrimming Div 1 ERLs and actually getting top tier practice. I think that's the best way for progression.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the win. You've got Smirnoff behind you, so I'm sure you're going to have a celebratory drink. We'll see you later, Harry. Congratulations on the win. And for you guys at home, don't look so sad. there's still one more game to go. Coming up after the break, we're going to have ourselves in Vision versus London. So we'll see you in a second for game number 4 of the UKLC. See you then.